Packers in football was just rewarded a new contract. Details ahead as the NFL's opening training camps today. But first,
we begin with the association. You know how there's been a ton of talk of the Thunder and their attempts to trade All-Star guard Chris Paul. Not so fast. It's a developing story here on SportsCenter. Our Adrian Wojnarowski reporting that the Thunder's attempts to trade CP3 are, quote, parked. This news comes 6 days after the Rockets traded Paul to Oklahoma City in exchange for All-Star Russell Westbrook. And Woj joins us now live. Woj, it seemed like a foregone conclusion that Chris Paul would not be in OKC for long. Why have these trade talks stalled?
Well, part of it is the timing of the trade. Salary cap space is full around the league. Teams have finished their team building, and Chris Paul's contract, 3 years, $124 million at 34 years old, is a factor. And right now there's an expectation with the Thunder, with Chris Paul and his representatives that he will likely start training camp with Oklahoma City. And the conversation about revisiting a trade maybe around December 15th when free agents who signed this summer are eligible to be moved, that expands a trade market. Or very well next year when there are 2 years left on his deal. But the Thunder welcome Chris Paul in. They have a team that will be competitive, not a contender in the West. And Chris Paul's been at Oklahoma City before. He played a season there with New Orleans. And given the alternatives right now, he's comfortable with starting up with them and maybe even playing the whole year if there's just not a trade to be done.
Wow. So that's shocking considering what the talk has been since the move was made. Woj, how does Chris feel about all of this?
Well, listen, I think at 34 years old, of course, Chris Paul wants to be playing for a team that's competing for a championship. That's not the Thunder this year, but he can make the best of the situation there. Steven Adams, Danilo Gallinari, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who the Thunder would love for Chris Paul to mentor. This is a competitive team, and it's an organization he's comfortable with. Billy Donovan as coach, Sam Presti as GM. And just given the lateness in the marketplace and what the opportunity that just isn't out there for a salary this big to try to jam in somewhere around the league, he's going to have to be patient and wait, and he's fine with that, I'm told.
Okay, Adrian Wojnarowski with the very latest on the future of 9-time All-Star Chris Paul, who is still awaiting his first appearance in an NBA Finals as he enters his 15th season. Here's a look at his new teammates. Woj just mentioned a couple of them. Of course, now in the trade, which happened 6 days ago, Steven Adams.
Whatever feelings he might have as a player, it's not for lack of effort, and it's not for not wanting to be out there.
Not beating the Celtics that year in the playoffs.
Game 7. He was the king of Game 6. He was not the king of Game 7. Our friend Bob Kravitz writes in The Athletic that not only could the Indiana Pacers not get any meetings with first-tier free agents, they couldn't get meetings with Chris Middleton and Tobias Harris. Kravitz says the NBA is evolving into a league of big city haves and small city have-nots. Frank, does the NBA have a problem like this?
I love Bob Kravitz. I go on his radio show when you refuse to do it. He is
I love Bob Kravitz and have known him longer than you. He once said to me, should I put Isola on? I said, sure, give him a break.
Thank you.
Yeah.
He's absolutely wrong about this. First of all, Chris Middleton was going to get a max deal from his own team. And same thing with Tobias Harris. So why are they going to meet? They knew what they were getting before free agency started. So don't judge yourself as a city, as an organization on the fact that these two guys would meet with you. Are there different ways that different organizations build? Absolutely. The Lakers can get LeBron James. Indiana can't. Oklahoma City can't. But Oklahoma City, with all these assets, Sam Presti long ago drafted Kevin Durant, James Harden.
He drafts great.
Every market is different. I actually don't think it's a problem.
Okay, so I'm going to look at it from Kravitz's point of view and look at the overall landscape. Who got rich in free agency just now? The following cities got rich. New York City, the most populated
Brooklyn,
city.
not the Knicks.
New York City, it's one of the 5 boroughs. Los Angeles, I'll give you Clippers, although both teams, because they got Anthony Davis. Second biggest city in the country. Houston, 4th biggest city in the country. Boston, one of the great cities in the country. And who got poor? Oklahoma City got poor. Bob Kravitz thinks that Indiana got poor. Charlotte got poor. I think that there is a 2-tier system in this regard. There are 8 to 12 teams in the league right now that cannot win it all, and they are mostly small market teams. Where you have in football, the notion of going worst to first is ingrained in the psyche of football fans. That's not the case at all in the NBA.
Tony, Toronto played in the NBA Finals. They traded
with a great player.
They traded.
They rented a
Kawhi
great
Leonard.
player, and let's see what happens next year.
They drafted Pascal Siakam and got Fred VanVleet.
You like him next year?
Well, there's still going to be a good. Well, my point is they trade.
Happy time, people. Happy 65th birthday, Rick Barnes. After so much storm and drang about Rick Barnes jumping to UCLA, Barnes is still at Tennessee. We may never know the real story of that contract offer, but Tennessee ought to be happy that Barnes stayed because he is a terrific basketball coach. And this program wishes that program all the luck in the world.
Kevin Durant's former basketball coach, 7 wins away from 700.
At Texas, right?
Yeah.
The 1 year that Durant played. I thought he was too skinny. How stupid am I? Happy anniversary, Kirk Cousins. On this day 2 years ago, Cousins rejected the Redskins' offer of $53 million guaranteed, opting to play for a second consecutive franchise tag of $24 million for the 2017 season. After that season, Cousins signed the most lucrative guaranteed contract in NFL history, $84 million in straight cash from the Minnesota Vikings.
Now that's a quarterback premium. Can he ever win big, you think?
I thought he could, but they didn't make the playoffs. Neither the Redskins, which lost him,
Yes.
nor the Vikings, which picked him up. They did not make the playoffs. Surprisingly, the Vikings didn't. Happy trails to a souvenir for 2 kids. Watch as Kyle Schwarber hits a walk-off home run into the basket in left center in Wrigley Field. Look at the 2 kids closest to the ball. Now watch an adult male reach down and swipe the ball before the kids could get it, and then hold it aloft in exultation, revealing his jersey inscription, "My Thai Guy." My Thai Guy is a bozo at this
It's
point.
amazing how so-called adults act when free T-shirts and baseballs are fired into the crowd. Let the kid get the ball.
Yeah, this is the whole point. Now, what the Cubs should have done is run up there and not taking the ball from that guy, but made sure they had 2 baseballs and hand them to the kids and invite him in later to the clubhouse and let Kyle Schwarber sign the ball.
Yeah, they said that they gave up the ball to the kid. But
Well, you gotta.
it's got to be in the moment, though.
Yeah,
that takes the thrill
We're
away.
running out of show. We go to the big finish. Danny A said today the Celtics' plan A was signing Kemba Walker and Enes Kanter. Do you believe that?
Kemba Walker, yes. Enes Kanter, who loves all the attention he's getting in Boston, absolutely not. But he'll be good for them. All right, Tua Tagovailoa said he's learned more from losing the national championship game to Clemson than he would have had he won. You believe that?
No, I don't believe that. I believe that is something you say to make everybody feel good. If you learn so much in losing, what happened to Kansas football? Well, they don't learn anything. They learn they can't play. Winning better. The Bucks signed Giannis Antetokounmpo's older brother, Thanasis. Is that a good move?
Couple of things. First of all, Giannis can sign an extension next summer. So the Bucks are trying to do everything they can to keep Giannis happy. By the way, the brother was originally drafted by Phil Jackson with the New York Knicks.
Do they like each other?
Yeah, they like
Okay, I
each other.
just
He
wanted
loves
to
his
make-
brothers.
just
He's
wanted to
hoping it
make sure.
works.
Go ahead.
We're 50 days away from the start of the NFL season. Are you excited
I
about
have a
that?
calendar in my house. I cross out the days. Football, college, and pro cannot come soon enough for
Right
the
around
show.
the corner.
Last one, Dodgers at Phillies tonight. Who you got?
I got the Phillies. How about last night? Your guy,
Bryce Harper. Yeah.
Walk-off double to win the game.
Yeah. That was,
I got the Phillies winning.
Not worth $33 million, though. We're out of time. We'll try and do better the next time. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
And I'm Frank Isola. Thanks for watching. You can get the PTI podcast on the ESPN app or Apple Podcast.
You know when they tell you to swing easy, they're right. I've wasted 30 years of my life.
Now on SportsCenter, Woj standing by live for new developments surrounding Chris Paul's future with the Thunder. Could the former Rockets star guard actually end up starting the season in OKC? Plus, 50 days to NFL kickoff and 4 training camps underway today. The top headlines you need to know, including Kyler Murray and Joe Flacco. Also, full coverage of college football media days. What's Alabama's learning curve from their championship loss? How Dabo Swinney can get the best of Bama again. And the NL wildcard hunt heats up, with 7 teams in contention featured in our afternoon showcase highlights. This is SportsCenter.
This is natural, man. This is all natural. Yeah, this is all natural. No, I was just joking.
Here's Kevin Nagandi and Sage Steele.
Oh, get ready to see all the stuff. No,
that's natural.
This is natural. Trust me. One of the top linebackers in football was just rewarded a new contract. Details ahead as the NFL's opening training camps today. But first,
we begin with the association. You know how there's been a ton of talk of the Thunder and their attempts to trade All-Star guard Chris Paul? Not so fast. It's a developing story here on SportsCenter. Our Adrian Wojnarowski reporting that the Thunder's attempts to trade CP3 are, quote, parked. This news